This video is sponsored by Dibbly Create. More about them later in the video. Imagine writing an entire book in less than an hour. What if you could cut back on all the time it takes to produce a high-quality first draft in a fraction of the time like that? Enter AI. I never thought I'd utter those words because I was very much on the fence about having artificial intelligence write books. Now, I've written and published dozens of books in the past decade, so why would I entertain having AI write books for me? Now, my initial reluctance came through my lack of understanding because most of these hype beasts on YouTube sharing how to write a book with AI were missing vital components of writing and publishing high-quality books. Writing a first draft takes time with research, brainstorming, outlining, and drafting, and even then, the book isn't ready for the market. You still must take it through the various phases of editing and proofreading. Add to all that, you still have to format the manuscript in the various iterations of ebook, paperback, hardcover, and to a certain extent, audiobook. Then, you still have to dial in your metadata with the right keywords, marketing copy, and more. Finally, you can publish that book, but it doesn't necessarily mean that sales will come raining down. You'll need to market and promote that book indefinitely. The most critical component to leveraging AI for your author business is human intervention. Without that vital component, you're doomed to having issues in your long-term success. Readers want quality content and an author they can come to repeatedly. It's not just about flooding the market with stilted writing that even a mother wouldn't hang on her fridge. That's okay, because this is the first part in a 6-video series. Stay tuned to this channel for all the vital steps to writing and publishing a book using AI, going from ideation to publication and beyond. Let's get behind the dashboard. You can follow along when you get a 7-day free trial of the Dibbly Create Pro plan when you visit my affiliate link at dailylinks.com/dibblycreate. Let's start it out by selecting New Project. On the left-hand side, you'll see notes and sections. Notes are for your eyes only, and the sections are your chapters. So let's select Note first. What I would recommend is build out a list of your interests. Ideally, interests with some experience, because you're going to bring something to the table that other people won't be able to. Having those insights as a reader and a consumer really helps give you a competitive edge. And especially as you build out this project, it's going to keep you invested in it because you have interest in this particular niche. So go ahead, pause this video and put together a list of, I'd say, about 6 to a dozen different interests that you have. Okay, so I have my list put together here. I've already kind of done some research ahead of time, but what you're going to want to do is narrow it down to one that makes sense for you. So what I'm going to do is take one of my keywords here that's related to the niche I'm interested in, and we're going to go and select KIP, top right corner. And under research, we're going to look for search term analysis. Choose the domain that you want to pull from on Amazon. Put in your keyword right here and put in the number of books that you want it to pull up. Be mindful that these tools do use quite a bit of tokens, which are displayed here. So if you need more, you can always purchase more tokens under the upgrade feature in your dashboard at the top of the pop-up window. You can also view your token usage on this page. 5 is usually more than sufficient. Now, if you really want to drill deeper down into a niche, you can always put in additional custom search queries. What are some common themes found to find the primary target audience, list how to create differentiating content. Now, the good news is I've already done my research ahead of time and a lot of my work, so all we're doing is going through some of this process here. So I'm going to back up. We're going to go into the historical data. Right in the drop down here, I'm going to select search term analysis, and it'll pop up all the search terms that I've done before. So we could see, oh, here we go. It gives us, first of all, how many tokens that we used. Great. Gives us a title of one book, product overview, including the date it was published on, customer rating, total rating, bestseller rank. It's fair at 136,000. It's probably a little less than a book sale per day. Monthly units sold, 12. That seems right on point. Monthly sales, $162. So we're going through here the variants, and you can peel through a lot of this information with strengths. It'll cover weaknesses. Now, these strengths and weaknesses is all curated from the reviews on that particular product. So pay really close attention to those strengths and weaknesses because you want to lean further into those strengths and also identify those weaknesses because this is going to pick out the gap that's within the market. Now, furthermore, you can go down competitive edge, proficiency and readability, writing style aspects, and then keyword analysis. This is the part that we really want to pay closest attention to between short-tail keywords and long-tail keywords. And we're going to use those keywords to figure out what's the next step. The next step, of course, is going to be creating a title. But stay with me for just a moment here. When you have all this information, left click on Save to Project. You can put it in the notes, which I would recommend, or in a chapter. But since we're going to go ahead and put this in here, we're going to hit Research, and boom. And it's set inside the research. We can drag and drop and put that inside the right area that we want to. And if we want to delete this other one, we can get rid of that. Perfect. So we have all of the information that we need to here to help us make an informed decision. So find the keywords that make the most sense. Now, this is just the one book. We can go down. There's even more books down here. So you're going to have a little bit of sifting to kind of go through. But if you find something that jumps out to you, you can always jump right into this very next step. Now, one thing I like to do is I'll take my keyword list and I will use another tool called Publisher Rocket. Now, this is not mandatory, but having it does help you out a little bit. So we'd go into the keyword research. We would type in whatever that keyword might be, and we'd say, go get them, Rocket. And then we could start to figure out which keywords are going to be good and which ones, we might want to avoid. We go through this whole list. Red means bad, yellow means and green means great, good to go. So in instances like this, homesteading books for beginners, man, not bad at all. We're looking at average monthly earnings at about 9,500. Monthly search is okay at 949. The competitive, it's right at 60, but it won't turn me away. If it was going a little bit higher, I would be a little concerned. So this could be potentially a keyword that we'd use within our title. Is it necessary? No, it's not. Again, Publisher Rocket will help you kind of decide a little bit better. So what I would recommend is just find the perfect cross section of high demand and low supply. And that's how Publisher Rocket helps out. Next up, we're going to go into the title generator. Now, if you have an idea of the title you want to go to, you can always skip this step, but I really find it so much easier. You can choose fiction or nonfiction. Put in a brief description, and it doesn't have to be super fancy. I've got a 3-sentence paragraph here. We're going to drop it in here, and we're going to put adults as our audience. We can also put general if we want to. And then we're going to go ahead and select the categories here. So this is essentially the browse paths that you would normally select inside an Amazon KDP dashboard. We can also make a custom search query, but it's an either or situation. Either you choose the categories or you choose the keywords. So in some instances, what we can probably do is just even drop in that keyword right there, and we can go ahead and hit search. Since I previously did this, I'm going to go into the historical data. We'll left click on that, and we'll come into here where I used homesteading as my keyword. Scroll on down and you'll get even more information. Based on our research, the frequency list of keyword associated with the top selling books is the following, and it gives you all of these great keywords. The average price is $16.46. Great information, by the way. And it gives you common topics and concepts. Ooh, I love it. Look at this. And then now we have potential titles. It's giving us some great titles and subtitles. Fantastic. And I'd already pretty much made up my mind exactly what I wanted to do on this one right here. And that's where I came with, I believe is the Homesteader's Kitchen Companion. And the main title was going to be Homesteading Kitchen, because I really wanted to focus on that element in this niche. Okay, so now that we have our title all set, we've got our keywords kind of loaded up. Let's see about putting together an outline. Again, we're going to come up to KIP. We're going to go ahead and left click on outline, and we're going to want to fill in all the information. The audience type, we're going to go with adults. It is nonfiction, and then choose the number of chapters. If you've done a little bit of due diligence, then you probably will know the average number of chapters for this particular niche. For me, I find that 10 is a fantastic number, and I want as a minimum this book to have some bit of depth to it. So 20,000 words is pretty good. I would suggest probably a little closer to 30 to 40,000. There's a little bit of foreshadowing. And now you're going to want to toss in your book title, genre of your book, It's how to. Main topic, homesteading. And then I'm going to put my 3-sentence description. It doesn't have to be perfect here, folks. Just kind of give a broad view of what it looks like. And then you would hit generate. Now, good news, I've already had this all done. So we're just going to go and drop into the historical data again. And you will see that when I hit press, by the way, this literally did it within, like, say, like 3 or 4 minutes. So it did it way faster than I would. And it really dives deep. So the Homesteading Kitchen, the Homesteader's Kitchen Companion, subtitle for the book. It was suggesting a subtitle. I already had the subtitle, so we're good to go. Niches of the book: homesteading, self-sufficiency, traditional cooking, food preservation. Size of the book, 10 chapters, as I told it, 20,000 words. Great. Objectives of the manuscript. What's the manuscript about? What are the key reader takeaways? What are the questions readers would want answered by reading this manuscript? And it goes down through everything that we need to know. Now, in order to get this outline over to where you need to, you can always copy it, or you can even save to project. We're going to put it in here as outline underneath the notes section here. And then we're good to go. We've got this outline now, and we can highlight the entire section for, let's say, our introduction. We would highlight it, hit Control C, and now we're going to go over to KIP again, and we're going to hit Content Writer. Okay, so the very first thing, you have either samples or chapters. Samples is just kind of feed you out just a little bit to kind of get you started, whereas chapter, it will blaze through everything that you need to know. Now, it warns us ahead of time, uses about 50,000 tokens without sources. Okay, good to know. Now, the chapter type, so important right here. We either choose introduction, normal, or conclusion. I think you know exactly what that means. So since this is the introduction, I'm going to go ahead and select that. And I'm going to hit Control V to pop the outline for the introduction right here. Now, the next step in this process is going to be including research or not including research. Now, currently including research doesn't go with introduction. That's okay, because we'll get that in subsequent chapters. That just means this is going to be cheaper for us token-wise. So good to go. Now we're going to select the tone. Now go through, read through exactly all these things that you want to do. I like mine to be conversational, and I also chose creative writing because I wanted to get it to where, yeah, homesteading can seem kind of boring to some people, and I really want to get it to where it's more exciting. Now, the next thing is the target audience. What I would say is readers who are new to homesteading. Great. And then what we do is hit generate. Thankfully, I've already got historical data already set up, and we can go into Content Writer and see the individual chapters that were pumped out here. So you can see that this cost roughly about 108,000 tokens. And the introduction is fairly girthy. I mean, it's really got a lot of substance in here. Now, we're going to judge that here in just a second, how good that is going to be. Now, let's back out here really quick because I did mention something with research and without research. So if we were to go through this whole process again, hit a chapter, it's on nonfiction, and we go normal. Let's grab chapter 1. And we're going to go all the way down to potential links. We won't need to add those potential links, though that will help you out later on if you need to do some corrections. Back up into KIP, Content Writer, Chapter, Nonfiction. We've got it under Normal. We're going to paste this into here. You can do it without research. It's going to be cheaper. You can do it with research, and it will be a bit more expensive. But you're going to see that with research is going to be a bit more of a robust output, something that you're going to be a little bit more intrigued about. And I'll explain a little further as we go through and read the outputs after we're done here. Again, we hit include research. You can either use their system or use your own links. And this is upwards of 3 of those links at a time. So if for some reason you wanted to use those links that were within that outline, go ahead. But if you're just going to use those links that they provide you, just use their system. This would probably be a great way to, maybe find something that you already have and insert it in here. Again, select the tone. I try to keep this the same all the way across the board. So if it's conversational, it's going to be conversational all the way through in creative writing. Target audience, again, readers new to homesteading. Again, I have already done this information. We're going to go into historical data, and you can actually see that chapter 1 is right here. Now, if I haven't made it clear enough just yet, we would end up hitting Save to Project. We'd put it into whatever section that we wanted to. So let's say this is chapter 1. It would save that section. Great. There's chapter 1. We can drag and drop that up there. Hit delete on this section. Also, you can change the name of your project, which I highly recommend that you do. You left click on the little ellipses here to the right of that. Hit rename. And then go ahead and put in the name of your project. So chapter 1 was only 93,000, but we can also see that this chapter up in the top right hand corner has about 3,900 words. So you're going to repeat this whole process with the outline. Going in, copy, paste it, put it into Content Writer. It's going to spit it out. Make sure that you put it into a section and then keep going. Eventually it's going to look a little bit like this. So you can see there are a ton of chapters all populated. This took me all together probably less than a half hour, and that was me dawdling in between the times that Kip was working on things. So it looks pretty clean so far, so good. Not bad. And you can actually see I've got the outline put up here, and I also kept track of the tokens that I spent on this. And you can find that information in your dashboard inside the main landing page, I believe, underneath the token usage area, and it'll tell you how much you're spending. It's a good idea to keep an eye on that, so that way you're not burning through all of your tokens in one day. So here is the one without research. So it's pretty good, as we can kind of see. What we're going to want to do is now take this and export it. So in the top right hand corner, you have two options. The very first thing we can do is export V2. Now this is only available to Pro Plan users. You can use the templates that they have available to you, and you can also go into advanced settings, which I highly recommend, because under general settings you can get it set up with the table of contents, images that are included, and links. You can also begin content either by default, right side, or left side. This would be more important for something like the PDF option that we have available here. And then on the left side, we're going to go into table of contents. You can choose the type of font that you want. You can do the style. You can do the size. You can align it as well. Letter spacing. Line height. And then body styling. You can go ahead and adjust that as you see fit. Font settings. For everything underneath here, it's all super intuitive. Let's go into the title page. This is where we're going to end up dropping in the name of our book. Then we have the subtitle, and of course we can always change all of this stuff here as we see fit. And we can hit save as new template if this is something we want to go back and use at a later date. Headers and footers. This is how we're going to go ahead and list the things at the top or at the bottom of the pages. So for instance, if we were to go into a chapter, it would drop in something like the author and the title at the very top, or the page numbers at the top here or at the bottom. So there's a variety that you can use. Section headings, same as everything before. Paragraph and how we can do it. If you want to have drop caps or you want to lead in small caps, great, fantastic. There are so many options we have here. Headings, go through here again, and margin as well. Usually a lot of these things, you could probably leave this one go, but in the event that you find that you're going to be using a specific type of PDF for your print books, then you're going to want to kind of tune this up according to some of those specs. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to project, because what I want is to export this to doc. So on the right hand side, we're going to select export V1. I'm sure in due time they're actually going to have all of these kind of put together. This one's not quite as robust as the previous version here, the V2, because this is obviously the first version, but you have most of the things that you can be able to use. And we'd go ahead and hit export when we are ready to use that. But since I've already done that, what we're going to do is pop open what I have so far. So here is the homesteading kitchen without research. Let's read the first paragraph of each one of these books. Imagine stepping into a kitchen where every ingredient tells a story, where the aroma of freshly baked bread mingles with the scent of homegrown herbs, and the shelves are lined with jars of preserves, brimming with last summer's bounty. This is the heart of a homesteading kitchen, a space where traditional cooking methods meet self-sufficiency, offering not just nourishment, but a richer connection to our past and our food. Whether you're a seasoned cook or new to the world of homemade meals, embracing these age-old practices can transport you to a simpler, more rewarding way of living. So this is the one without research. Now, knee-jerk reaction, I'm going to tell you, I've already gone through this and such. One of the things I discovered without research is there was a lot of redundancies, a lot of things that it just kind of repeats throughout the book. So this is going to make it a little bit harder for us when we're going through the editing process. So I had a discussion with the Dibbly Create team, and they highly recommended using with research if you want to have something a little bit better that's not requiring as much of the editing process. So I'm going to go over into with research. When Sarah and John moved from their bustling city apartment to a modest piece of land on the outskirts of town, they had no idea how profoundly their lives were about to change. Their friends thought they were crazy for trading in their urban conveniences for a life filled with outdoor chores, unpredictable weather, and the challenges of self-sufficiency. But Sarah and John discovered something magical. They found fulfillment in homesteading, a way of life that not only connected them deeply with their food, but also aligned their daily living with nature's rhythms. This is exactly what I was shooting for. I wanted to have some creative element, something that would just mingle the, between the educational element as well as the storytelling element, so it could get more readers invested. And as I kind of went through this book, I found way less redundancies. In fact, it was super fascinating read. Now, you will notice I'm using Pro Writing Aid at this moment, and on the right-hand side, you will notice that it has 628 suggestions. Now, between this one and the one without research, you will see that there were less mistakes on the one without research. It says 428, but that's a little bit of a false positive, because I found that with the one with research that there was just a lot of false positives. There was some issues with some passive sentence structure, but otherwise a lot of what Pro Writing Aid's pulling up is kind of nitpicky. I would say the biggest issue that we're going to run into is going to be developmental editing, making sure that there's no redundancies and that we're not repeating ourselves too often, and make sure that everything kind of is cohesive. And then we could go into copy editing, which is great for what we could use for, say, Pro Writing Aid, or you can even use Kip within the dashboard here. So as a, for instance, we're right here inside this manuscript. If for some reason we want to check something for its grammar, we can always go in here and hit grammar correction with Kip. And it'll say, oh, have you ever looked at blah, blah, blah. Is this going to be a good option? If not, you can always go try again. And it'll give you different iterations of something like this, but it will help you out in figuring out, okay, if I don't have Pro Writing Aid or Grammarly or Linguix or any of those other things, what's the best path forward? And so that's going to probably be the next best path forward, is using this right here. But I wanted to kind of use Pro Writing Aid to kind of figure out what I was working with and really to see, okay, is this going to work out? So far my gut is feeling that the one with research, yeah, it costed more tokens. I burned through almost my whole month's supply in using this, but it was well worth it. The very next step that we're going to need to do is make sure that we refine this manuscript so that way it's readable. So that way when a reader gets it, they're not just looking at this and going, well, this is a bunch of hammered garbage that AI probably wrote. Yeah, they can see through that. You're going to want to make sure that you refine this. So that's going to be our next logical step in the process of writing a book with AI. Stick around on this channel for the subsequent steps in this writing and publishing process. Next, we're going to clean up this manuscript and bring in more human intervention to make this manuscript the absolute best. I'll put the link up here when it's live, or you can always see how I drafted a book in 7 days here without the use of AI. You'll get deeper insights into how I'm able to produce high quality content in a fraction of the time. I'll see you there.